Satisfy your cravings with the bold flavors of Pollo Campero, where every bite of our fresh, famous fried chicken is crispy, juicy, and seasoned to perfection. Looking for something beyond fried chicken? We've got you covered. Try our zesty citrus grilled chicken, delicious chicken sandwich, or Campero nuggets. Every meal will leave your taste buds wanting more. Find your nearest Pollo Campero at us.campero.com or visit our newest location at the Lear Concourse in Penn Station. Perfect for dining in or on-the-go ordering.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Astonishing Legends Network.
Disclaimer. This episode includes the usual amount of adult language and graphic discussions you've come to expect around here. But in the event it becomes an unusual amount, expect another call from me.
Welcome back to Scared All the Time. I'm Chris Cullari.
And I'm Ed Voccola.
And this episode, we are taking a 180-degree pivot from last week's topic, where the big one was so scary because it's so in our face and likely to happen at any moment. This week's topic is about as likely to happen to you as getting struck by lightning or attacked by a shark. But if you're unlucky enough to experience it, it could be worse than either of those. For many people unlucky enough to have their numbers pulled, winning the lottery is one of the cruelest tricks fate will ever play on them. What they imagine to be a path to riches and a life of peaceful solitude on a tropical island instead opens the door to an onslaught of tragedy, murder, and mayhem that puts some of the other fears we've covered to shame. So cross your fingers and scratch Scared All the Time off your card. This week, we're scared of winning the lottery.
What are we?
Scared.
When are we?
All the time.
Join us.
Join us.
Now it is time for
Scared All the Time.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Just a little bit of housekeeping up top as always. I think the first thing that we want to mention is we have a very exciting milestone that we're about to hit. And that is that we are 10 producers away from giving Ed a little bit of a break on the buttons. If we can get 10 more I know I sound like I work for PBS and I'm like calling your house for money or something, but if we can get 10 more producers, we will have enough producer level people signed up for the pod that we can actually start ordering our buttons in batches instead of making them by hand, which means you will get a higher quality button and Ed will continue to have hands.
That's true. I need those guys to edit the fucking show.
Yeah. So if you've been thinking about subscribing to the podcast, now's a great time to do it. Patreon or Supercast, go ahead, sign up. And if you sign up for the I'm Terrified level, you'll become a producer and you'll get a button of the month for Button of the Month Club. It would be awesome for us. We'd be really psyched about it. So if you've been thinking about it, now's the time. It's the holiday season. Get it for yourself, gift to your significant other. Probably not for your kids, but hey, whoever. If your kids are old enough, or I know some of your kids listen to this show, get them a premium subscription. Get them some buttons.
That would be awesome. Yeah. And, just all the levels are good. I think we've been having a lot of fun in the live shows. We got more of those coming up. So everybody in Scared level, we're going to be seeing you soon. I think we'll probably do a couple. We did this Discord thing. We talked about it last week. Now every day I want to just go live just for no reason.
It's fun.
Yeah. And just be like, hey, we're live right now. What's up? Come on by.
It's fun. But then you say we're live right now. And if only 2 people show up, you kind of feel like
I'm gonna be like, you guys want some buttons?
that's true. That's true.
Now that I got you here, it's like a timeshare thing when they come to our Discord.
I would say in general, keep an eye on our Instagram, keep an eye on the Facebook page. There is a good chance that over the break, because we've got this episode and one more episode lined up for you, and then we're going to take a couple weeks break, and we'll be back for the holidays, for Christmas and everything. But in that interim, there's a pretty good chance that Ed and I are going to be popping on to Discord, doing some live streams of movies. We're experimenting with Twitch.
Twitch is trying to experiment with us.
Twitch is.
They should change their name to fucking
We
Thirsty.
signed up and we get thirsty ass Twitch emails every day that are like, you know what's going on Twitch right now? We need you. You must be here.
It's like, calm down, buddy.
Yeah, we're exploring Twitch. Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so with that said, let's do a quick 5-star review and then we'll get into the episode. So I don't know. We got some really good 5-star reviews lined up and I wanted to just do one. So let's see. I'm flipping a coin. All right. I'm reading You Guys Rock by Willow Diares. Maybe Diaries?
I don't know. I can't see that far.
Willow, thank you for the 5-star review. Thank you for writing in. The review is this. Thanks to the producers, staff, and writers of this podcast.
Oh my God. So
Ed and I will be sure to thank the staff.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. We did it.
Thank you, guys.
We've done it. We looked at each other and did it. And then Tess will send the text too.
Thank you to the producers, staff, and writers of this podcast. It's been a really hard start to the winter, getting darker earlier. It's hard to stay in a good mood. Agreed. During my commutes, workouts, and when just trying to crack a smile, this podcast has become a go-to answer. Thanks again. Can't wait to get caught up and listen in real time. Well, thank you, Willow. I'm glad you're enjoying. I'm glad we're bringing a smile to your face in these literal dark days. We're feeling it too. I don't know if either of us are officially diagnosed with seasonal depression, but we do lock up the sharp objects around this time of year.
It's year round, baby.
It's pretty bad. But yeah, we're glad you're enjoying the show. We are continuing to enjoy the show. So thank you for writing in. Write in 5-star reviews. You may be featured on 5-star Review Corner. There's a lot of great reviews we haven't gotten to, but keep an ear out. You never know. We don't always do them in order. So if you left one and we didn't read it, we might loop around back to it. And with that, let's get into the show. So this episode comes to us courtesy of Ed's personal list of fears. It wasn't something I'd considered being afraid of until he'd mentioned it. So Ed, I'm going to turn the floor over to you at the top of the episode here. Do you want to explain where the idea for this came from?
From sudden death. When we did sudden death and then I got in a horrific car accident right after, I thought we might be manifesting things into the world. So I thought maybe we should do a fear of winning the lottery. Which would be great to manifest into the world for us. But also, I've just know that it is a real problem. Like, I've seen enough articles, watched enough stuff, listened to enough podcasts about people who won the lottery and their lives went to shit after. I don't know if it's that, like, poor dad, rich dad mentality thing, but it is just like people who don't have a lot of experience with money get a lot of money and all of a sudden shit gets worse.
Yes, I can tell you, having researched the topic now, that is true more often than not. I think a place that we could start, though, for this episode is talking about if we've ever played the lottery. Have we won anything in the lottery? Ed, have you? What big lotto money are you sitting on?
None. I don't play the lottery personally. I should. I have plenty of friends who was like, Powerball is $10 billion. I better get out tonight. You know, you'll see people waiting in line at the convenience store. I really don't do it. I should. I've been broke long enough where it's like anything can't hurt at this point.
Well, you gamble.
Not really.
A little?
I gambled. I had a little fun with gambling, but just the tiniest amount. Because
Okay.
I'm like, I can see how dangerous this is for people who, you know, the gamification of it, especially in the modern era. I think it's kind of dangerous. But no, I'll have like, we'll throw like $5 on like the Mike Tyson fight or something. Something fun to make an event a little bit more fun. But no, I don't really gamble. I do like going to the track a lot with friends who do gamble. I think it's a really fun day. But again, I'm not really spending money. So yeah, I don't really buy like lotto tickets. But every year for Christmas, my mom, for like our whole lives, would buy like scratch off tickets to put in the stockings. But it was always so fucking clear that she just bought like all from the same roll, because like one brother would always win,
Right.
Because like just statistically on the roll of tickets that were purchased, so there's 3 brothers and one of them would always end up with some winning tickets, and it wasn't always me. But no, I never had any kind of like big win. I've never, at most it's like a $3 on a scratch off, or win a free ticket. I'm not even good with like raffles. Like if I'm putting in like a raffle ticket at like a car show or at an event or a silent auction, I just never win anything. I'm not lucky in the world of winning.
I'm not either. I've never won a short film contest.
Well, that's on you.
Maybe this is why our careers are in the shitter. We've never won anything. No, I've never won. I've never won anything lottery related. I shouldn't say that. I also have relatives who have bought scratch offs and stuff over the years, and I think I've maybe won like $50 or something. Like I've definitely, won a little bit in that sense, but I've never really played the lottery.
I have strong opinions on the lottery, though, and this is, not helping us.
The floor is yours. Well, this is your podcast.
The one strong opinion I have on the lottery, and anyone who knows me personally has probably heard me talk about this. It's like in my top 5 things I'll bring up, like things that steam my vegetables. And I don't like that as a nation, we're doing like $1 billion lottery winners. If it gets to $1 billion fucking dollars, it should just be 10 $100 million winners. Or people are like, $100 million is nothing anymore. Well, then fine. Make it 4 $250 million winners. I feel like that's enough to start probably generational wealth. And that's good. People definitely don't need $1 billion. No one needs 300 billion. Like, that's a whole other fucking thing. But in terms of the lottery, I think we should be changing more people's lives than just one person's life. Like my hot take, my big take is that we should just like make more winners.
What I'm hearing is Comrade Ed wants to legislate the amount of money that we can make as individuals in this country. And I think, for the record, that is a great idea. I agree. No one needs $1 billion or $300 billion.
Let's just say 6. Let's just call it 6 billion. It doesn't make you a fucking card-carrying member of the Communist Party. It's a card-carrying member of the fucking Common Sense Party.
Yes.
Like, let's just fucking let people have a life-changing amount of money that will make them generationally wealthy and call it that. Let's just call it, I don't know, $6 billion, okay? That seems like more than enough money for anyone to have.
Here's my pitch. After you make your $6 billionth dollar in this country as a capitalist entrepreneur, you're no longer allowed to make money, and instead you just get president bucks. And it's just so you can collect shit, so that you can have more president bucks than the next billionaire. But it's no longer real money. The rest of the money goes back into the economy. You get like a Chuck E. Cheese token, basically.
Yeah, and then you can put it up as like, look at the high score I have.
Yeah, it's
Everyone
a high score.
It.
Yeah, you can put your initials into the Constitution.
Yeah,
that's what we do. You put your initials in the Constitution. You have a lot of money. We all recognize it, and then the rest of it just goes back into public services for the good of the country. Anyway.
Yeah, and that could be anything. It could be roads. Doesn't have to be literally anything.
Roads, libraries, schools, whatever. Doesn't matter.
You want lower taxes? It's one way to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. But that said, yeah, I don't think that any one person needs $1 billion fucking lottery win.
No.
And then, of course, someone's going to write in the comments, well, what about you? What if you just got the winning $1 billion? Okay, sure. But if you told me when I got that, like, oh, the thing about this is you only get 250 million, I go, okay.
Yes. and also, I mean, if you won $1 billion in the lottery, most lotteries in the United States, are taxed. So you're probably, you'd get more than 250 million, but
what would you do? Would you lump sum or I would lump sum. I don't think I'm going to live past next week anyway with all the shit we discuss.
Well,
I'm all about that lump sum.
It's tough. The lump sum definitely gives you a better shot at
being alive to use it.
No, the lump sum gives you a better shot at being able to live off the interest because you're putting a bigger sum into the bank.
It's a great point.
That's how I've always thought of it. But I don't know how it breaks down. Do you end up getting more if you receive it in yearly chunks?
I don't know.
Something tells me you do. Something tells me that it's one of those, like, you take it in smaller amounts for longer and you actually end up getting more of the money.
Okay, so lottery winners have 2 payout options, a lump sum or an annuity. If you take the lump sum, you'll receive the estimated cash value of the jackpot and not the quote, advertised, jackpot amount. If you choose to take the annuity, you will, after like 30 years, receive the full advertised amount. So taking the lump sum means you can receive 40 to 50% of the jackpot for immediate use or investment, so it can be a big difference, but who's got the time for that? There's also stuff in the rules about selling the annuity after that sounds kind of greasy. But anyway, Chris was right.
Here's what I would do. I would say, fuck it. I don't care about that. Like, fucking leave it. Give me all the money. I will then deposit it somewhere where it collects interest.
Yes.
And then have a person who can only give me a little bit at a time.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I would put it in some kind of irrevocable trust kind of thing where, depending on how much it was. If you're saying literally $1 billion, yes, it would be some sort of irrevocable trust. I would figure out some sort of lifestyle that I could live off the interest that I'm making on that money. because at that point, you're making millions of dollars a month probably on that
I
interest.
would say maybe a year. In this country, what's your interest rate? Like 2%? So.
Well, no, I mean, I have, I'm not going to say the name. If they want to advertise with us, they're more than welcome to. But I am with a very common bank that is mostly online, and they give you it was 4.9. I think now it's 4.6% interest.
And it's going to go even lower over the next 6 months,
account.
and then 6 months after that. It's only looking high right now because they were trying to battle inflation.
No. A lot of the more online banks do offer higher interest rates. There's a bit of a convenience that you forego. Like, it's hard to deposit cash if that's something you do a lot. I don't, so it's not really an issue. But yeah, no, I think the best interest rate you're getting at a bank, at a traditional bank, is probably like maybe 5%. But if you're putting
that's like with a CD or something, it's not just going to be your normal savings account.
Yeah, but if you're my normal savings account's getting 4.6, so a CD might get like 5. But if you're putting $1 billion, you're not putting that into your local Chase branch. Like I'm
putting it under a huge mattress.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm replacing my entire house with a mattress, and I'm putting the money under it.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about winning the lottery in 2024 is it is just zeros and ones, and it's also a good thing for being rich right now. Like if Comrade Ed from just this episode would like to redistribute the wealth, you can't just go beat someone up and take their money anymore. It can't just be like, give me your money, you rich guy. Yeah. It's like, well, anyone know his password? This sucks.
Yeah.
I guess it would be good. You put $1 billion bones just in your online savings account.
But my point is, though, that $1 billion, you're probably putting that into some sort of, you're going directly to Bear Stearns and saying, hi, I have $1 billion and I need to put it in an account. They might give you an extra couple points to put $1 billion in with them.
Yeah,
so,
I wouldn't know.
I don't know what the VIG is there at the end of the day, but the closest thing I've experienced to any sort of big lottery story growing up in central Pennsylvania is actually, believe it or not, movie related. Because where I grew up in Harrisburg and Hershey is where they shot the John Travolta, Lisa Kudrow hit Lucky Numbers.
Oh, boy.
Which was a late 90s Nora Ephron movie based on a true story, which we'll recount quickly here. If you haven't seen the movie, check it out. But it's based on the 1980 Pennsylvania lottery scandal, which is colloquially known as the 666 Fix, which was a plot to rig the daily number, which is a 3-digit game of the Pennsylvania lottery. It's a basic lottery game. You have like the machines with the ping pong balls in them blowing around, and then they hit the button and the numbers come up. It's 3 numbers generated at random. And according to Wikipedia, this plan was masterminded by the announcer of the daily number, a guy named Nick Perry, who was a news and weather reporter and the host of local sports shows like Bowling for Dollars and Championship Bowling. In 1977, Perry became the host of the live nightly broadcast of the Pennsylvania Lottery held in the WTAE studios in Pittsburgh. Long story short, while a host of that broadcast, he conspired with a few other people to weigh down all of the balls in the 3 machines, in the 3 air machines, except those numbered 4 and 6, which meant the drawing was almost sure to be a combination of those digits. The scheme was actually successful when 666, which is one of the 8 combinations of 4s and 6s that the fixers were hoping for, was drawn on April 24th, 1980, netting a $3.5 million prize. A few days later, another $1.5 million prize was drawn, but the authorities noticed unusual betting patterns amongst the people who knew that these numbers might get drawn, and they were alerted to the crime, and most of the fraudulently acquired winnings were never paid out. So if you've never seen Lucky Numbers, it is a loosely fictionalized version of this story. It was panned when it came out as being cynical, too dark, tonally muddy.
Sure.
And it is, because it is written, and I didn't know this until I went to go look it up, by a guy named Adam Resnick, who is a comedy writer from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, who also wrote Death to Smoochie and Cabin Boy.
Oh my God. So those are the 2 most insane,
absolutely
dark movies.
Panned, dark, weird comedies.
Yeah. Different time where you can get 3 films with 100% audience hated work.
But what's interesting is that I feel like both of those movies have been reevaluated as kind of like modern comedy classics. So they like influenced a lot of people, at least. I don't love Cabin Boy. I get it. I get why people like it. I do love Death to Smoochie. I think the reason that Lucky Numbers was never reconsidered in the pantheon of dark comedy cult classics is that it was directed by romantic comedy queen Nora Ephron.
Yeah.
Weirdly, it's the only movie that Nora Ephron directed that she didn't write.
That makes sense. That's what I was thinking the whole time.
Which also, I think, explains some of its weird tonal issues because she, I think, I have no information on this, but I suspect she probably was offering notes, trying to rewrite, making kind of a mess of things as she was directing it, feeling like, I don't know if this works. I also think it's not nearly as bad as its reputation, but I think it was very much trying to be Fargo. It's snowy, it's impotent criminals, it's violent, but it's funny.
And Fargo was a hit. Fargo was a big hit critically.
Yeah, and so I think she was definitely trying to kind of do Fargo and miss the mark.
Do you remember It Can Happen to You? That's my lottery movie. That's my go-to lottery movie.
No, I don't know what could happen.
But Nicolas Cage, where he's like a cop or whatever, and he's like, he pays for his coffee at the diner with like, I'll give you half this if it wins, if you let me go.
Yes.
And everyone in his family's like, you're gonna give some fucking person half of this money?
Yeah.
You fucking don't even know this person.
Ed had no memory of Rosie Perez playing Nicolas Cage's wife in this movie, but basically did a Rosie Perez impression, so it must have been hiding deep in his subconscious this whole time. The brain is a wild thing.
You know, just the way everybody's family, especially on the East Coast, would react to doing something like that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I gotta do it. I made a promise.
Another movie that kind of went under the radar.
Oh, well, it was good. I remember it being good when I was a kid.
Anyway, my connection to Lucky Numbers, besides the fact that it was written by a guy from Harrisburg, is that it was also shot in Harrisburg. It was shot in central Pennsylvania. So it was a big deal for like 4 weeks, one of those winters when I was growing up. And I think a girl in my sister's grade had her house used as an exterior shot at some point. But that's the closest I really got to any big, crazy lottery stories. Thought it was worth noting. But despite our relative ignorance of the lottery, it is an extremely popular American pastime.
I don't think you get to $1 billion, you know, if it isn't. I think that happens when like a winner doesn't come up each time, then it keeps going up and up, but it still means that tons of people are tossing dough at it.
Yes.
And I have definitely, especially when I smoked more weed back in the day, I have definitely been to untold number of 7-Elevens where I just want to buy like a fucking pack of Rolos.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and I have to sit behind some asshole who's like being like, I want 2 quick picks and I want this and I want 4 lucky 4s, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up. I just want to eat this box of nerds in the parking lot, you fucking creep. Like, you're just taking all
this
day.
This guy's standing here generating random numbers on his iPhone that he needs to bet on.
Do you remember when I play the lottery, which is very rare, but when someone I'm living with will be like, let's go to get a ticket, I always do one. I usually do quick picks because I don't care, but I always do one with the lost numbers. And do you remember when the lost numbers hit?
No.
The lost numbers. So people who don't know, there was a show called Lost. It was fucking awesome for a lot of it. And it was definitely water cooler television. And there is a series of numbers that it's part of the plot device of the show. There are these series of numbers that someone has to input all the time to, like, for whatever. I don't want to give anything away 300 years later.
If you're listening 300 years later, there may not be water coolers or water.
Yeah. So it's the same amount of numbers you would play in a lottery. So a lot of people, it was a very popular show. It was more of a monoculture. There wasn't streaming yet. And so a lot of people played the lost numbers. And I myself am one of them. And the lost numbers hit somewhere a couple years after the show. And it was for a decent amount of money, but so many people played the lost numbers that everyone got like $5.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are so many people who played that number set. But yeah, that was awesome. God, we got to get back there as a society.
Well, according to a book called For a Dollar and a Dream, State Lotteries in Modern America by historian Jonathan D. Cohen, quote, 1 in 2 American adults buys a lottery ticket at least once a year.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because at least once a year, there's news-making lottery nights. There's like, you know, the highest number in New Jersey lottery history, or do you have your tickets? It's $1 billion tonight. Still no winner.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I think it's because it's a big state. California comes up a fucking lot. There was a time when I was like, I played golf down the street in like Altadena from some little liquor store where the last like huge number was drawn. And I was like, the last huge winner before this was from like Pasadena, like right down the street. And before that was, fucking Fresno or something. So it's just like, I think it's just a lot of people, 40 million people playing in California. So the odds are better here, but it just felt like a lot of times it was California.
It is funny
winning.
that places where winning numbers were drawn, people will go play there because they think the luck's going to like rub off on them, when really the odds have to be much lower.
Yeah, I think
that
those
another
people,
ticket will come from there.
I think those people make money. I think if you're the place that sells the ticket, you get a percentage. I'm almost certain that's a real thing.
I think that's true. Anyway, 1 in 2 American adults buys a lottery ticket at least once a year. 1 in 4 buys at least once a month. And the most avid players buy at rates that might shock you. Some studies show that roughly 12% of American adults buy most of the lottery tickets in the country.
I've been behind all 12% of them when I'm stoned just trying to get candy.
Averaging out to between $3,000 to $4,000 wasted per person per year by roughly 30 million people. Americans spend more on lottery tickets every year than on cigarettes, coffee, or smartphones, Cohen writes.
Do you remember John F. Kennedy's speech at Rice University where he's explaining how we're going to go to the moon? One of the things that he was like, it's going to cost a shit ton of money. I always think about in that speech where he's like, yes, it's a staggering number, but I would have you know that that's still less than Americans spend on tobacco products each year.
Yep.
And I always thought that was like a great way to help people understand that. So it's shocking to me knowing that more people spend money on fucking lottery.
Yeah. Well, if we want to go back to the moon, we could put some of this money towards it. So they spend more every year than on cigarettes, coffee, smartphones. They also spend more on lottery tickets annually than on video streaming services, concert tickets, books, and movie tickets combined.
Wow.
And only a handful of people ever win anything.
But like you said, they tax it, and that money goes towards the state and the country, I guess.
Yes, which we'll get into in a little bit. Because this love for the lottery is not a new thing. According to a recent article in the New Yorker from a few years ago, quote, lotteries are an ancient pastime. They were common in the Roman Empire. Nero was a fan of them. And are attested to throughout the Bible, where the casting of lots is used for everything from selecting the next king of Israel to choosing who will get to keep Jesus' garments after the crucifixion.
That's amazing. Everything's raffle-based.
Yeah, everything was raffle-based. I'd never heard that story, so I dug a little further, and apparently that particular casting of lots actually fulfilled the messianic prophecy of Psalm 22:18. Some sources say that Jesus might have actually watched Roman soldiers gambling for his clothes from the cross while he was still alive.
That tracks. I mean, that wouldn't be surprised. That just seems like that would be in a movie or TV show for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was maybe the Romans considered it more civilized than just like fighting each other at the base of the cross to see who got the cloak. But
I do find it interesting that anyone would want the cloak unless they considered him the son of God even then, which they didn't.
Well,
who the fuck wants some criminal's clothes? Like,
I don't know.
You guys are doing all right in the Roman Empire.
Infamously, everything Jesus had was very much it was basic. It was simple.
That's what I'm saying.
Like the cup in Last Crusade.
Yeah, cup of a carpenter.
Yeah.
So that's why I cry foul a little bit on this story, but it's a psalm, so psalms they have their own thing going on.
Yeah, who knows? I will say it makes me wonder why no one apparently threw lots for the, what the fuck, where they laid, it's got his face on it now.
The Shroud?
The Shroud of Turin. You'd think somebody would have been like, hey, that seems valuable.
Yeah.
Like, hey, a magic spell burned Jesus's face into that fabric over there.
I'll give you $6.
Yeah. Anyway, in these early instances, lottos were deployed as either some kind of party game during Roman Saturnalias around Christmas time. We've talked about tickets were distributed free to guests, some of whom won extravagant prizes.
Door prizes, basically.
Yeah.
Quite literally what that is.
Or sometimes lots were a means of divining God's will. Often, though, lotteries were organized to raise money for public works. Held true in the past, holds true now. The earliest known version of Keno dates to the Han Dynasty and is said to have helped pay for the Great Wall of China. 2 centuries later, Caesar Augustus started a lottery to subsidize repairs for the city of Rome. By the 1400s, the practice was common in the Low Countries of Rome, which relied on lotteries to build town fortifications and later to provide charity for the poor. Soon enough, the trend made its way to England, where in 1567, Queen Elizabeth I chartered the nation's first lottery, designating its profits for, quote, the reparation of the havens and the strength of the realm, E with an E at the end of realm.
Okay. So they raffled off that E.
Yeah, get it out of here.
It's for a public work.
Tickets cost 10 shillings, which was a lot back then. In addition to the potential prize value, each one served as a get-out-of-jail-free card, literally. Every lottery participant was entitled to immunity from arrest, except for certain felonies such as piracy, murder, and treason.
Oh my God. Imagine having that in the asterisk at the bottom of your get-out-of-jail-free card in Monopoly.
I know. I think we should bring that back for the lottery. Fuck the money. I mean, can you imagine if we had a lottery?
A purge lottery?
Basically a purge lottery.
Well, here's the thing I've noticed in this country. You have enough money, you can do it anyway. So win the lottery, become rich enough for crime doesn't matter.
But here's the thing. Let's say you do a purge lottery, which Blumhouse, if you're listening to this, we call the spinoff, by the way, the Purge : Lottery. Sure. This is for us.
Yep.
But what you're doing is, instead of offering people money from the state, all you're doing is kind of subsidizing bank robberies. Like, you just go, hey, if you win this lottery, you're immune from prosecution except for murder, treason, and piracy?
Yeah.
So you're saying, hey, you know what? It's up to you now. This is a very American thing.
Also, piracy, do you think they mean pirates or like copied a movie?
No, I think back then they meant pirate.
It's that ad of like, you wouldn't steal a candy bar. It's like, that's the level of which it's like, yeah, just don't murder anyone and don't make an illegal copy of Burlesque.
No, I'm saying the state just needs to say, I mean, how popular would this be in America?
It would be, I mean, right now you can just go and rob anyone you fucking want. I said earlier, rich people, but you can go into a Walgreens. Have you gone to a fucking Walgreens recently and tried to get toothpaste?
Well, okay.
It's like behind a wall. I got to call someone over.
Yes.
So yeah, crime is easy.
My point being,
I don't know how we got into that, but
my point being that instead of the state offering people money in exchange for buying lottery tickets.
Yeah, you can give them immunity from bank robbery so then they can rob the bank and then get whatever they want and they can keep it because they're immune.
If they don't get caught.
What do you mean if they don't get caught? What's the point of this fucking card? I want to get caught and be actually, I have a card, idiot.
That's true, right.
Diplomatic immunity.
You want your diplomatic. But the great thing is you end up saving money as the state because that idiot who robs the bank is going to get, $30,000 or something?
Insured if it's deposits.
Yeah, so you're good. This is a good plan. I say we implement it. The article notes that the lottery didn't so much spread to America from England as it helped spread England into America because the settlement of the continent was financed partially through lotteries. According to History.com, the Virginia Company of London held a lottery in 1612 to fund ships bound for the Jamestown colony, where we know there later would be cannibalism. The prize was 4,000 crowns, which was a good amount of money in those days. It wasn't all that popular. This particular lottery wasn't all that popular, but the company wasn't deterred. In 1616, 4 years later, the company sent people on the road to sell tickets in what they called instant lotteries outside of the capital. In these small-scale games, people could find out if they won a prize immediately after buying a ticket, similar to a scratch-off lottery today.
Interesting, or like a twist off a cap of Coke and see if you won another Coke.
And these were huge successes. They brought in an estimated £29,000 over the next 4 years, or £8 million today. As more colonies settled in the Americas, they also funded their settlements with lottery money. Lotteries paid for public buildings, roads, and canals. Influential figures like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and John Hancock sponsored lotteries for specific projects. And interestingly, though, I thought this was great. Despite widespread adoption of lotteries, there were still strong Protestant resistance to gambling. So in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, for instance, dice and playing cards were forbidden even in people's private homes. It was outlawed. But that didn't stop Massachusetts from holding their first lottery in 1745.
Yeah, who's going to go to the first Thanksgiving? You had to put in for a lottery.
Yeah, those seats were pricey.
They were. And it sucks as everyone had these fucked up janky dice they had to make. They'd like whittle out of wood. What are you getting out there? Just some firewood. Don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. You're not making dice again, are you? The shittiest dice?
The reason for this contradiction in morality is that early America was short on revenue and long on the need for public works. So since early American politics and really modern American politics have defined themselves by their aversion to taxes.
Yeah, no taxation without representation. But it's like, well, this isn't taxation. This is you might might win a sports car.
Yeah, I mean, if they had cars back then.
It's a nice loophole. It's a nice workaround.
That's true. The lottery became an appealing alternative for raising money, which was used for funding for everything from civil defense to the construction of churches.
Now the churches don't even let you win anything. They're just like, you're going to put into this lottery basket? But what do I get? I don't know, not eternal damnation.
Well, but now, I mean, churches do now. I mean, bingo is a big church thing.
100%. I'm just saying that they have a collection basket that you get nothing.
Right. You just put the money in. You get good feelings out.
You get good feelings. I think they figured it out. It's like, we actually don't even have to give them anything. Everyone else is doing it wrong.
Right.
You going to give out an Xbox?
I don't know. You know, we were raised Catholic, so I don't know what other churches are like. But Catholics pass around the collection plate, and I think for them, it's a fully guilt-based economy.
Yes.
They make you put the money in front of everybody else, and if you don't, to this day, if I go to like Christmas Eve Mass with my mom, when they pass the basket around, I don't put money in, I'm like, oh, God.
Well, that's why I'm fucking Ricky Envelope in that. You know, like you can get the envelope.
Yeah.
They get like the church-provided envelopes.
Right.
So I'm always like, whatever's in this envelope's in this envelope.
Yeah, but you want that envelope to be thick.
You can put like Kleenex and stuff in there too.
That's true. That's a tip for anyone listening. If you don't want to look like a cheapskate at your church Christmas party, you put $1 in there and then you stuff it.
Look, I'm not saying it's the fastest way to get to heaven.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
So fast forward 200-something years, America, 1970s. After the Vietnam War, as American prosperity started to wane, many state budgets, they were becoming increasingly difficult to balance without doing one of two things: raising taxes or cutting services, which were both pretty unpopular opinions. No one really ever wants either. So for politicians looking for a way out of this conundrum, the lottery was sort of a perfect solution. It provided a way to maintain existing services without hiking taxes, and then, you could keep your job. You wouldn't get punished at the polls. For these politicians, lotteries were basically budgetary miracles. They were the chance for states to make revenue appear seemingly out of thin air. So for instance, in New Jersey, which had no sales tax, no income tax, and no appetite for instituting either, legislators claimed claimed that a lottery would bring in hundreds of millions of dollars, relieving them of the need to ever again contemplate taxation.
And yet I can't drive through that fucking state without having someone else pump my gas.
Well, and this was, I don't know. Does New Jersey have sales or income tax now?
I think they have both. Yeah. And I can't bump my own gas. That place really fell apart.
Yeah, they have a sales tax. They have a 6.625% sales tax.
Not as bad as California, but that's still pretty up
and
there.
And their income tax is 1.4 to 10.75%.
So yeah, they've given up on all those strong ideals they had back then. Once they got the taste of the lottery.
They were like, we need money.
Yeah.
So the problem standing in the way of the lottery, though, was that Americans were still relatively religious and still had objections to legalizing gambling. Now, there were lots of people arguing on both sides of this. Some argued that since people would gamble anyway, the state might as well have a legalized way to collect profits. Many white voters actually supported legalization of lotteries because they thought the state-run gambling industry would primarily, this is one of the most racist things I've ever said on this show, and I will reiterate, this is not my perspective. This was the 1970s New Jersey voters' perspective. They thought state-run gambling would primarily attract black players who would then foot the bill for services that white voters didn't want to pay for. Because if you legalize gambling, they thought black people would take advantage of that, and then thus their gambling money would pay for all the stuff that they didn't want to pay for.
That the whites didn't want to pay for.
So
they were for it.
I assume they mean welfare. Yes, they were for it.
I thought, so I'm sorry. I was confused. People can't see his face here, so I think...
I made a confusing face.
You made a confusing face, so
I
I thought you were saying that they didn't want blacks to play the lottery and then pay for everything and then be like, see that park bench? Only we could use it because we pay for it with the lottery. And I'm like, equally racist, but not as nefarious.
No, fully nefarious. White people fully went, hey, you know what? Let's legalize gambling. It will attract black players.
No, I understand.
Yes. And then we will benefit from their sins, essentially.
Yeah. Greasy. Greasy as fuck.
Super greasy. And, because they were like white taxpayers when they were presented with, hey, should we pay for better public schools in urban areas? They were like, fuck no. But this was a way to get around that. So meanwhile, many African-American voters supported legalization because they believed that it would ease their friction with the police, who for a long time...
It was a police-run lottery?
No, but numbers games, any kind of gambling.
Well, that is something that I'm surprised you haven't brought up yet, that like the mafia numbers games and gang numbers games.
Yes, well, I'm sure the mafia was against legalizing gambling for those reasons, but in this particular instance, African-American voters felt like, well, if we legalize certain aspects of gambling, that'll give the cops fewer reasons to come...
crack down on us.
Yeah, to come knock on the door and be like, what are you doing in here?
You guys playing the numbers.
Yeah. So now opponents to easing gambling laws were split along religious lines. I thought this was really interesting. Devout Protestants regarded government-sanctioned lotteries as morally unconscionable. One Methodist minister and anti-lottery activist at the time, imagine that, an anti-lottery activist.
I mean,
it's been a couple decades.
I sounded like one at the beginning of this fucking episode.
That's true. But I feel like it's been a couple decades since we've heard that term. But this minister, in his position as an anti-lottery activist, declared, quote, there is more agreement among Protestant groups on the adverse effect of gambling than on any other social issue, including the issues of abortion, alcohol, and homosexuality.
What?
So, yeah, he felt that such adverse effects of gambling included fostering gambling addictions, sapping income from the poor, undermining basic civic and moral ideas by championing a route to prosperity that, quote, did not involve merit or hard work.
I mean, I'm not against the first 3 or 4 of these.
No, but I would, yeah, I mean, it
is addicting. It is fostering the idea of something for nothing, and it will likely adversely affect people of lower income who will play it more.
Yes. And he felt, or he or she, I'm not sure if this was a male or female minister, felt that encouraging state governments to maximize profits would come at the cost of even the expense of their most vulnerable citizens. So,
maximizing profit comes at the expense of anyone more vulnerable than people who are maximizing those profits. So that makes sense. I don't see it as much in this exact scenario, that like fitting one for one.
Sure.
More than like, I can't get into that. Start calling me Comrade Ed.
Catholics, on the other hand, were overwhelmingly pro-lottery. They played it in huge numbers.
These are people who have 8, 9, 10, 12 kids.
Yes.
They were playing the lottery with which one of these are going to fucking live through this. So yeah, everything they were doing was, lottery based.
Generally, Catholics were considered to reliably flock to all kinds of gambling games. Now, I don't want to put this on any sort of ethnicities, Italians.
But we did say that Rome started the whole gambling thing or was like big into it.
One statistic that blew my mind is that in 1978, bingo games hosted by Ohio Catholic high schools took in more money than the state's entire lottery organization.
Oh my God, dude.
So just Catholics playing bingo.
And I don't know what year was that, you think?
That was 1978.
At this point, there must have been laws that it's non-taxable, right? Like, it's a religious institution.
Probably, yeah.
So that's got to piss some people off. They're bringing in more money than the state lottery, and there's no way the state can take any of that money.
Bingo games.
Yeah, they're fucking degenerates. The Ohio Catholics, man, they had a good thing going there.
They did. Well, so in 1964, New Hampshire approved the first state-run lottery of the modern era. So
New Hampshire?
It wasn't New Hampshire.
That's a place that is still a real one. Like, they still don't have sales tax.
Right. Well, so it's no surprise, I don't think, that they were the ones who went, we need to get money from somewhere. We're doing no sales tax, no income tax, like we ain't taking nothing.
It's live free or die, dude.
Yeah. So they approved the first state-run lottery in the present day, which is interesting. Like, as a person who doesn't think much about the lottery, it's always existed since we were born, and so I never realized that it started in the 60s, really, in the United States.
Yeah, well, there's another lottery in the 60s called the draft, and that was not as good.
Yeah, people were really used to their number coming up, so to speak.
Yeah,
so
they weren't bumped about it.
Yeah.
They're like, how do we change the perspective on numbers in this country?
13 states followed in as many years, all of them in the Northeast and the Rust Belt. By the early 80s, with Reagan in the White House, federal money flowing into state coffers declined, and more states started looking around for solutions to their budgetary crises, and they bet on the lottery over and over again.
Guess the lottery's coming back.
There's a whole interesting history in the article about, and I'm not going to go into it because it takes us a little too far off topic and it's complicated math stuff, but it's super interesting. This one company called Scientific Games Incorporated.
That's the most, that sounds like a mafia front.
Yes. They invented the scratch off. And through a whole host of like funky math and a lot of lobbying.
Wait, they invented the idea of it, or they physically invented?
I don't know if they invented the idea of it, but they invented what we think of as the modern scratch-off card that goes...
I would love to see how they were like, listen, I'm working on this thing. It's unbelievable. Right here, she's wearing her clothes. But if you scratch your coin on the clothes, oh, look at that. Her clothes are gone. Well, and it was like they were working for like a Spencer's Gifts place someone who was like, realized there's a better way to use this.
They invented the scratch off for numbers instead of titties, is what I think.
Well, no, I'm just saying I do like the idea of the mechanics of a scratch off being for something entirely different is funny to me. And then they realized that this is actually better for gambling.
Well, and what they also realized was that until this point, lottos were just number drawings. But the scratch off, what they realized was so addictive about it.
You can gamify it.
Well, it gamifies it. Yes, you participate in it.
And that's why I feel not great about modern DraftKings style. We were just talking about this before we started recording.
Sports gambling, yeah.
I like sports gambling, but like the gamification of sports gambling, I think, is a little gross towards young people right now.
Yes, and that's exactly what these scratch-offs did. It made you feel like you were participating. It was more of a game. It was less gambling. And honestly, I mean, when I was a kid and I would get like a scratch off at Christmas or Easter or something, Catholics, it was, I never even thought of it as gambling. It was sort of like it
was fun.
It was a fun little game.
These again, I talked about it earlier. These were in children's stockings.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 8-year-olds were
the people who definitely on their own, if walked into a Quickie Mart, couldn't buy these things on their own.
Yes.
I think, get to be 18.
Yes.
But there they are, opening them up. Remember, you had the stocking for guns, the stockings for... there was the stocking with tobacco pipes. It was like the fucking Foot Clan.
Yeah, it showed up and just like gave you every vice in one sock.
Yeah, that's what it was like.
Anyway, Scientific Games not only invented the scratch-off, they had this whole clever system. I won't go into the whole thing, but they essentially lobbied to make the laws around this so onerous for people to essentially like apply and get certified as like a scratch off retailer and all this stuff that they made it impossible for anyone else to compete. They basically made it so that it was so expensive for another company to become a scratch-off lotto company that they became like the one and only. And by 1982, the company had printed its 5 billionth ticket and was producing 1 million more every hour.
Wow. Just the Brazilian rainforest and trees.
Just burned. You
Just
think
burned to
AI
the
is
ground.
bad for the environment?
Yeah.
Scientific Games killed off probably just as many toucans to produce fucking lotto tickets.
I need 1 million more of these on my desk by lunch.
Yeah. So by that point, by the mid-'80s, the lottery had firmly planted itself in American life. And maybe that shouldn't be a surprise, because one of the few things that infamous enemies Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson agreed on was that lotteries found success in the colonies because citizens would, quote, prefer a small chance of winning a great deal to a great chance of winning a little.
It's true. And people are still that way.
It's basic psychology.
Yeah.
They would always take, and they'll always take the lump sum if it's less over the long-term getting a little bit every year, I bet.
Well, now that you say it that way, it's the other way around, in the sense that I didn't think about it. When you said it earlier, I didn't think about it this way, but you were like, oh, if I took the lump sum, I'd put it into my account and I'd make money on it. Someone's holding on to that money while you're getting a small amount every month, and it's giving them fucking interest.
That's true.
That's a fucking interest-free loan you're giving somebody with your $1 billion.
That's true.
That's how I feel about Venmo in some extent. Definitely stock exchange places where it's like, wait, how is Venmo free? It's like, well,
They're
if
sitting on your money.
you have $500 in your Venmo account, you don't actually, that $500 is an account they have with $1 billion in it, making interest on all of the money, all of our Venmo money sitting in there.
What an insane business model that all they had to do was convince a lot of people to give them money to sit on and make interest off of, and then they just send that money back and forth to everybody else.
Yeah, when you need to pay your friend $8 for ordering Twinkies or whatever, yeah, they'll give you the $8 to send them. Realistically, it's going back to their Venmo account, which is then going to sit in their fucking bank account still. So
Crazy.
yeah, it's kind of like, I love getting a tax return at the end of the year, you know, in the years that I get it. But it's also like, that's just an interest-free loan I gave the government all year.
Yeah. For screenwriters like Ed and I, there's a lot of different weird processes to fill out your taxes. It's not super simple. And I don't even know if I should say this on record, but I was told once...
Error. Audio file corrupt or missing.
I'm not saying I've never done this, but...
Error. Audio file corrupt or missing.
You're giving the government...
Probably best to ignore these alerts. Just put in a sound effect or something and move on with the edit. Really? That's what you chose? You're out of control. Be better.
But some people who win the lottery actually lose everything. And that's what we're really here to talk about today. There is one very famous story about a guy named William Post who we are not going to cover because The Dollop already did that, and you can go listen to The Dollop if you want to hear the story of William Post. But there are an endless amount of these stories. Many of them are pretty similar. Person wins money, person starts partying, person doesn't stop partying, person loses everything. But in doing my research, I was also kind of heartened by how many people basically gave money away and just got in trouble buying stuff for everyone they know, from cars to houses to vacations, paying for college.
I feel like that would be me.
Yes.
I for sure know. Like if I got, it was like a number. If I got 100 million or more,
yeah,
I'm peeling a few of those million off. I don't give a shit. I'm handing out shit.
All you guys are getting Button of the Month Club for free.
For free. And I'm actually going to hire someone to make the buttons.
A generous spirit can actually be really difficult for a lottery winner because you get the illusion of having infinite money that you can just give to people. I mean, I think I probably would do the same thing. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm paying for every dinner. I'm paying for every vacation. I'm paying for everything.
Do you have any friends, especially in our business, who like do have a lot of money?
Yeah.
I have a few. I got some that are cheap as fuck, who I won't name right now. And I won't name the good ones either, just to not be, but I got one or two buds who, they're not even worth, like, they're worth millions, but not high double digits millions. And they are always just like, 25 friends are out right now, I'm paying for it, I'm paying for it, I'm paying for it. And that's great, but I got friends who are worth, not friends, coworkers who are worth 200, 300 million, and they don't pay for shit. So it is weird. But yeah, the generous spirit must be tough. But I've also never seen them run out of money yet. So
I'll name a dickhead. Won't say what he's famous from, but if you know, you know. He's worth a lot of money, and he once told me that the way you keep your money is by not spending it.
Yeah, definitely people I know who he's hired didn't get paid well, so.
No. So that happens with rich people. Like, a lot of rich people have that mentality. I think if you're like halfway decent with money management or halfway decent with budgeting, you should be able to pay for friends and that kind of stuff.
And there is that thing too where you're like, earlier I had said in this episode, if I kept it in, I'm not sure or not, but if I did keep it in earlier, I said in this episode, I was like, you know what? I'll give my money to someone who just gives me a little bit at a time, no different than getting it in not the lump sum, but you get the lump sum all up front. Mm-hmm. But when I'm thinking back on that, how many stories do we have of like Billy Joel's, Bruce Springsteen's, people where it's like their business partner took it all, they didn't even realize it?
Yeah, well, because they weren't good with money and they got taken advantage of. They just
that
trusted.
Would be us.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. Well, with that in mind, the idea that a lot of these stories are pretty similar, I tried to find a couple of lottery tragedies that broke the norm in one way or another. And we're going to start with a guy whose name became legendary after he won the lottery in West Virginia. The name Jack Whittaker. His story makes me think he sold his soul to the devil on some dark back road one night, because this motherfucker was already worth $17 million from his West Virginia-based construction business when he won a record-setting Powerball on the night of Christmas 2002. Rather than breaking up the $315 million into dozens of payments, he took $113 million after taxes in a single lump sum.
That's a ton of taxes taken out. It was like 60%.
I mean, I assume state, federal,
sure.
Who knows what else. But yeah, a guy who's already worth $17 million winning $315 million on Christmas night feels like not even real.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know, it's like just the music from fucking the end of Home Alone. And it's just like a man holding a ticket as like out of focus. The number lady drawing the numbers is like, and it's like person on the other end of the phone is like, you still there, Jack? You still there or whatever?
Yeah. Well, according to the New York Post, which is honestly the best source for a lot of these lottery craziness stories, Whittaker vowed that the prize would not change him. But believe it or not, a week later, he showed up at a strip club called the Pink Pony, which I think might be literally the Pink Pony Club from the Chappell Roan song.
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know who Chappell Roan is.
She's a pop star. I'm not super familiar with her music, but my writing partner is. And she has a song called Pink Pony Club.
Oh, it might be.
I think it might literally be.
Where's she from?
Somewhere in the South, I think.
Is that where this is?
This is West Virginia.
Oh, there you go.
Although, I don't know. I mean, Pink Pony might not be that weird of a name for a strip club. But anyway, Jack Whittaker showed up at the Pink Pony a week after he won this and slammed $50,000 down in cash.
But that might not be him changing. He might have always been that guy, but now he has more money.
That was my first thought. That doesn't seem like something that you do for the first time when you make that money.
No, when he walked up, they were like, "What's up, Jack?" Like everyone knew him there already, and now he's got $50,000
down when he was only a 17 millionaire from his construction company. Also, a bunch of elements of this sniff a bit of Dixie Mafia. I'm not saying this guy was a member of the Dixie Mafia, but it seems like he had a certain level of comfort and braggadocio around criminal elements. So I don't know that this guy was completely on the straight and narrow. I also, Ed, I meant to put this picture is in the show notes, but I want to show you a picture of Jack Whittaker because this guy is a man for all time.
Oh my God.
He kind of looks like Jim Ross from WWE, if you remember Jim Ross, the announcer.
Sure. There's a lot of comparisons I can make. He seems like either the best time or the worst time to hang out with. Like he seems like he can bring the good times or he can ruin everyone's fucking day.
He's a good old boy with a giant black 10-gallon cowboy hat, a bright red tie, a black button-up shirt. Jack Whittaker is out here having fun. And of course, acting like a crazy person throwing this much money around shed an unwanted spotlight on the Pink Pony Club, too. Quote, "My worst nightmare was waking up in the morning and reading in the paper that Jack Whittaker got rolled at the Pink Pony," the bar's manager told the Washington Post. "I said, please put that money away."
Oh, meaning like, I don't need you getting shot over this or people robbing you or.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what his definition of rolled is, but just anybody, locally finding out that there's a lot of money flying around at the Pink Pony Club, I'm sure is not great for the club that probably doesn't really want a ton of people looking their direction. But that didn't stop Whittaker. He became more brazen. On another visit to the club, months later, he bragged about having $545,000 stashed in his Lincoln out in the parking lot. 2 employees allegedly slipped him a Mickey, broke into the vehicle, and stole the cash. They did get charged, but never indicted. Although Whittaker also picked up a bit of good luck when the cash was found near a dumpster, still in the briefcase. Which
he's an idiot.
Yes,
he's like the pictures you show me. It's like I said, he's either the most fun to be around or an absolute fucking nightmare to be around. He's just like a big stupid blowhard.
He's a big stupid blowhard. But again, this is where I think Dixie Mafia, like, why steal $545,000 out of someone's car and then just decide to leave it untouched near a dumpster? Feels very like, oops, we didn't realize who this guy was. Kind of a thing.
let's not completely pass over the fact that 2 employees of your business just had fucking Mickeys to be handing out to begin with.
That's true. Yeah,
it was like, hey, it wasn't like, hey, they heard about it and then went and found Mickeys. They were like, hey, so we got these fucking Mickey fins for, I guess, this predominantly
for this kind of situation,
female club we work at.
It's really all these knockout drugs we have are for stealing money from fat, rich old white guys, and has nothing to do with the women that patronize the joint. So
no one women that work.
Well, the women that work the joint, sure. But in any case, 5 months later, $200,000 was taken from Whittaker's car in that parking lot, and then flash forward to 2018 when another $100,000 was heisted out of his automobile while it was parked in front of his house.
2018?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought that photo made it look like this was 1988.
Well, no, this guy was around for a while just throwing money around. It seems like he kept regularly hundreds of thousands of dollars in his car.
He seemed that was his whole move, was just keeping money in his car.
Yeah. Around the
what
county.
An idiot. I have a detachable faceplate for my fucking $80 radio that I like take off when I leave my piece of shit car.
Just in case.
Yeah, I'm not leaving $200,000 in the back of that fucking
Well, you also
rickshaw.
don't have $17 million plus, how much did he make? $113 million after taxes? So.
True, I don't. I would definitely have a better car if I did.
Around the county, Whittaker started to become known for his newly caddish ways. According to the Washington Post, while boozing it up at a local bar, he loudly offered one female bartender money for sex. Shocking. He later offered $10,000 to another bartender if she would pose for him in her underwear. Both women turned him down.
I don't know. It seems I would do it for $10,000 for him.
I know. I'd say, did you bring the underwear? And where would we like to set this up?
I'd be fucking George Costanza on that couch real fast.
Meanwhile, things were not going well at home. In 2004, a friend of his teenage granddaughter, Brandy, was found lifeless from a drug overdose in Whittaker's house.
Buddy, that's not great for you, dude.
Later that year, Brandy, described in this article only as the apple of Whittaker's eye.
This is his granddaughter?
His granddaughter.
Not the one found dead, okay.
His granddaughter was the apple of his eye. She was discovered dead, her body wrapped in a plastic tarp behind a derelict van from undisclosed causes.
Okay, that's too many to not have him be a suspect.
Yeah.
Like, right? Also, look at this man's general attitude, attire, and body type. This man's never eaten a fucking apple. An apple is a thing to throw away. That's why these women are in a goddamn garbage can.
According to one person who gave a quote for this article, they said he gave a crazy stipend to his 17-year-old granddaughter, and that attracted some bad characters. Nothing good came of it. She apparently was receiving $2,000 a week and was gifted 4 cars by her grandfather.
Damn.
Which also sounds a little bit like I'm doing really skeezy things with my granddaughter, and here's $2,000 a week and 4 cars to not talk about it.
I don't know.
We don't want to put that on his name?
I don't. No, I just don't know.
The whole thing sounds bad. 2 teenage girls dead in his vicinity in 2 years or a year.
Yeah.
Not awesome. Not great. Whittaker loved gambling, and that too proved disastrous when Caesars Atlantic City sued him for bouncing a $1.5 million check.
That's on Caesars. You're taking checks. Come on.
Written to cover his losses.
Get the fuck out of here. It's got to be a cashier's check.
I don't know the details of the check, but it did not clear. Following another casino issue, he settled with a woman who accused him of sexually assaulting her at the Tri-State Racetrack and Gaming gaming center in Charleston, West Virginia. Then in 2007, Whittaker said he could not pay the lawsuit because he was broke. He insisted, according to CBS News, that, quote, a team of crooks, maybe the same team of crooks who brought down Nixon, I don't know, cashed fraudulent checks and, quote, got all my money.
Damn.
He and the bank where it supposedly happened settled their differences later that year. Things seemed to quiet down for Whittaker for a few years until his home burned down in 2016. All of the stories are true, said Bob Rufus, a retired forensic accountant who worked with Whittaker during a contentious divorce from his wife, Jewel.
Oh, boy.
Quote, Jack Whittaker was a complete wacko, Bob Rufus told the Post. I remember him being in a heated dispute with Jewel's lawyer who said to Jack, you confused your IQ with the amount of your lottery winnings. At that, Rufus remembered Jack was ready to start throwing punches. He was very volatile. What happened to Jack would be humiliating to a normal person, but he felt like he was above it all as a result of his financial worth. I think his reflection would be that he was a victim of the lottery. It certainly wrecked his life. And Jack Whittaker died, kind of shockingly, of natural causes in June 2020.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Right after starting COVID.
I mean, based on the photo we've seen of Jack Whittaker, COVID might have taken him out.
For sure. That's June of 2020.
Large man.
That physique.
Mouth wide open.
Yeah.
Breathing heavily.
Licking guardrails, licking stripper poles. Having to constantly go suck up the fumes of his car when he goes to his, trunk ATM that he kept, apparently.
But Whittaker's story is a walk in the park compared to the tale of lottery winner with the name, get this, Abraham Shakespeare.
That is a made-up name.
And his life, I did not see nearly enough headline puns about this, is a Shakespearean-level tragedy.
Oh, good. You know how Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves? Sounds like this guy's going to free all the money from his account.
He freed a lot of money from his account. I think he also freed a couple of demons, personal demons, that cost him dearly. In fact, when asked by 2020 about what led to Abraham Shakespeare's downfall, a friend said, quote, his illiteracy and his kind heart.
Oh, that's a dangerous combination.
Dangerous combination. Dangerous. So the life of Abraham Shakespeare.
Right there. Just that sentence alone could be like a series of short, like a novella of short stories.
The Coen brothers are already on this man's story. According to the Tampa Bay Times, on November 15th, 2006, Abraham Shakespeare was 41 years old, had $5 in his wallet, and was making $8 an hour. He had no car, no driver's license, no credit card. He had grown up in Lake Wales, Florida, and spent time in homes for juvenile delinquents. He could read and write, but as this friend previously mentioned, not much. He also had a long criminal record, mostly for loitering. He drove when he wasn't allowed to drive. He stole. He hit people. And he later didn't pay for the children he fathered.
Is it the heart of gold, he was saying? Illiterate and a heart of gold?
Yes. His illiteracy and his kind heart were his downfall.
It sounds like he lied in his resume about one of the two things.
He went to prison twice.
From, do you think it was from, 5 counts of kindness? He was found guilty on all that kindness?
Yeah, 5 counts of kindness, and he's sentenced to 25 years and a hug. No, I think that, so after he got out in 1995, he lived with his mother, and then he worked as a garbage man. He unloaded trucks, he washed dishes, he did day labor, and that's what he was doing on a fateful day in November 2006. Now, we were just joking about, this guy's life story. Look, there is an actual book, I think, called Unlucky Numbers, written on this guy's life and the whole thing he went through. I didn't read the book. I just did research online about him. But generally, he seems like a rough guy from a rough background who, he made his mistakes. He did some bad shit, but he also worked. He was a working man. He tried. I'm sure he has as many people who love him as hate him. But in any case, on November 15th, 2006, he was assigned to ride shotgun for a truck driver named Michael Ford on an overnight food route to Miami. They made a delivery in Lakeland, they made a delivery in Winter Haven, and then they stopped at the Town Star Mini Mart in Frostproof, which is a real place in Florida, Frostproof, Florida.
They don't get a lot of snow down there, so most places are frostproof.
Yeah. Seems like you wouldn't even really need to name your town Frostproof. It would just be, people would know, but... Ford asked Shakespeare if he wanted anything. Shakespeare asked for a pair of quick picks, lottery tickets, and gave Ford 2 of his $5 bills when he returned.
I mean, that's for me dangerous. That ticket wins, and it's like, well, he gave him the money.
Yeah.
But I would be like, well, I bought it, and you know what I mean? Like, that's a dangerous move.
You would be Michael Ford. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But
I didn't say I would act that way. I just said I could see this happening.
This is how Abraham Shakespeare ended up with the ticket with the numbers 6, 12, 13, 34, 42, and 52.
The fucking lost number. I'm just kidding. They're not the lost numbers.
The jackpot was $31 million, and he won. He took it in a lump sum pattern of $16.9 million. After taxes, he got $11 million in change. First thing he did, put $1 million in a trust fund for his son.
That's fun.
So he's paying for at least one of these kids.
Yeah.
There might be a few more, but he's paying for one of them.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Then he gave his stepfather $1 million.
That's a vibe.
He gave his 3 stepsisters $250,000 apiece. He paid off $185,000 of a mortgage for a friend. Paid off $60,000 of a mortgage for a man whose last name he didn't know, and paid off $53,000 of a mortgage for a man, quote, out of the neighborhood who he'd known for, quote, a few years.
I will say $11 million is not enough for this level of generosity.
Yeah, this
$100 million, absolutely pay off the guy you heard is having a hard time, but $11 million, you might have to like be a little better if you're going to live till 80.
Right off the bat, he gave away, I mean, I'm not good at math, but at least $3 million, $4 million just without batting an eye just to pay these people's mortgages.
Yeah, like so almost half is gone in the first week.
He gave his brother's son's best friend $40,000.
Just cuz.
He gave his mother $12,000 and his sister $10,000. So
wait, so the step kids got like $250,000.
The step family he loved. The
Yeah.
mother and sister he wasn't as close with, clearly. He wrote Wachovia cashier's checks to his friends. He paid for funerals. And for himself, he bought an F-150 pickup, a BMW 750i, and a new home for right around $1.1 million.
Which is 2006?
Yeah, 2006, 2007.
That home is worth so much more now. Just because at 2006, you could have bought all that. I bet you that F-150 was probably like 20 grand then. Like everything is so ridiculous now.
In 2006, the starting MSRP of a regular cab F-150 was $19,805. The starting MSRP for the same model this year is $37,065, which is like $10,000 more than the cost would be adjusted for inflation. And I won't even get into how far behind the median household income is at keeping up with these price hikes, because that would only activate Comrade Ed, who has many people asking where the Ed who puts American flags on our merchandise and posts about veterans went. Turns out both are the same Ed. As a robot, I have much to learn about the duality of man.
You win $11 million now? Don't fucking tell anybody to put that in your bank account because that's not going anywhere now.
Ed, as you saw coming, Abraham Shakespeare was sued 3 months after he bought this house. And the man who sued him was Michael Ford, the truck driver.
Who they got security cam footage of him buying that ticket.
Ford claimed the ticket was his, that Shakespeare had stolen it, and the money, or what was left of it, should be his too.
And then again, we also are only going off the word that Shakespeare said, I gave him my $5. We don't know. We weren't in the room. There's no camera in that car.
Shakespeare swore he never stole anything from Ford.
Which would definitely come across better if you didn't have a rap sheet of stealing from people.
At the trial, Abraham Shakespeare came to court with a garbage bag stuffed with thousands of lottery tickets that he had purchased over the years to prove that
I'm a degenerate.
No, well, in his mind, he was trying to prove that he'd been buying lottery tickets for a long time. So to prove this wasn't some one-off where he just stole some guy's lottery ticket.
He's like, where's your lottery tickets? The guy's like, I throw them away.
Yeah.
I don't keep a bag of disappointment.
He's got a bag of lottery tickets and a garbage bag full of fingernail clippings, and he brought the wrong one. It took the jury just over an hour to decide in Shakespeare's favor. So he won, but the trial cost him another $800,000 in legal fees.
Who the fuck you hired? Johnny Cochran? That's so much in legal fees.
I know, but I guess if you have $11 million, you've spent $4 million, $5 million, and you figure you want to spend another $1 million to keep the remaining $5 million.
No, I get it, but I also feel like he probably got fleeced by some Florida fucking lawyers here who were like, yes, our hourly rate is $70,000.
Yeah. Asked what he'd do now that the ordeal was over and the money incontestably his, Shakespeare told the Tampa Tribune, my goal is to be able to wake up in the morning, get a fishing pole, and go fish.
Well, you should move if that guy who just lost in court still lives near you.
Yeah.
Because you're going to wake up dead.
Speaking of waking up dead, for as rocky as the road was for Abraham Shakespeare at this point, he might have survived winning the lottery if the man who sold him his house, this is where the story gets really crazy. So Abraham Shakespeare has gone through all this already. He's given away all this money. He's been sued by the guy who bought the lottery ticket. He wins the money. Unbeknownst to him, the man who sold him his house is going around the country telling his story, telling Abraham's story about this down on his luck, blue-collar man who won the lottery and bought a house. He's going around telling this story at business conferences. He's like a shady real estate guy who's like making a buck off of giving
some sort of Tony Robbins story. Like he does like motivational speeches.
Yeah. So it's at one of these lectures where this real estate agent is approached by a woman in a wheelchair who introduces herself as a writer named Dee Moore. She said she'd been in a car accident, but still wanted to work. And
You're okay. I'm not going to say anything.
And Abraham Shakespeare sounded like the perfect subject for a book. She asked if the real estate agent would arrange a meeting between her and Shakespeare, and soon after, the agent got the two of them together. When Dee Moore came to the house, the agent recalled to the Tampa Bay Times, she jumped out of a Hummer walking.
No!
She said she'd healed herself through scuba therapy.
That is so fucking crazy.
Red flag number one.
And
the
did they say
wheelchair-bound writer.
Did they say where they met her? I know that they at that conference. Did you remember? Did it say what city? Was it still in Florida?
Yeah, no, I think
because everything about this is fucking Florida man this, Florida lady this.
The real estate agent set up the meeting for Shakespeare and Dee at Shakespeare's house.
Yeah, so I'm saying this woman's presumably from Florida as well.
Yes.
This is all the most Florida shit.
Well, Dee, so there was a whole big, long backstory on Dee that I'm kind of leaving out. She's, as you will see in a moment, she's a con artist. She's a consummate con artist. I'm not sure if she's from Florida or if she was in Florida at the time. According to the Paris Review, Dee's book project was soon abandoned. Oh my.
Oh no.
Who would have seen that coming?
Well, if you had only known that the DD of DD stands for dedicated deceiver, then you could have seen the red flag raised even higher in the poll.
She said she'd given up writing it after seeing how many people were taking advantage of Shakespeare's generosity.
And how hard writing ended up being.
Yeah, she wrote 5 words and was like, This sucks. She said she wanted to help Abraham Shakespeare manage his assets, and that meant setting up an LLC under her control.
Real fast, though. So it sounds like the guy who set up the meeting was there, presumably, saw her jump out of the Hummer, and at no point was like, hey, I don't know, just weird. I don't know if I should bring this up. This bitch couldn't walk when I saw her last.
Yeah, she said, I have a recording of her saying, oh, if only my old paralyzed ass could write a book about an interesting subject.
Yeah, that's what actually got her here. I was like, oh, I felt bad, because it's like she still wants to work after her legs stopped working, I guess. Yeah, she didn't want to be like her legs and stop working, is what she said to me.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
So Moore passed herself off as an accomplished businesswoman and apparently writer, I guess. And without the ability to read or write, it was difficult for Shakespeare to question her claims.
Interesting. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's true. Shit.
Yeah, he was the ultimate target. He just kind of trusted everything that she said, and he couldn't check.
When you first said that, you're like, not being able to read or write. I'm like, she lied about that too? Like, I thought you were talking about her at first.
No,
I'm like, this
no.
woman's unbelievable.
Shakespeare trusted her enough, though, and there's some speculation that some of this is that, like, after the lawsuit, you know, where this guy that he was at least a co-worker with sued him, that he was really looking for someone to trust, and that's part of why he kind of fell into trusting Dee Dee more. But whatever the reasoning, he signed over the deeds to 3 houses to Dee Dee.
Oh my God. I've never been a writer on any project where I'm like, first drafts feels pretty good, but to do more, I probably should have like a deed to the studio, right? Like,
well, and not just that, he gave her the deeds to 3 houses, ownership of outstanding loans that amounted to nearly $400,000. And soon she moved her son, her boyfriend, and herself into the houses.
I'm gonna go ahead. Listen, I do plenty I shouldn't. Like, ladies can take complete advantage of me. I get it. But as soon as they were like, great, I'm also gonna move my boyfriend in, that's when I'm like, nah, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
This is over. What the hell is that snuff box sketch where it's like, this drink's for me, this drink's for my friend Alyssa, this one's for my boyfriend. He's like, fuck you, and just like drops the like plate and walks away. It's just like each time they do, that's such a good sketch. I mean, I don't know if it's misogynistic, but it's a great sketch.
It sounds a little misogynistic, but hey,
that sketch is slaps. It'll be in the show notes.
That's comedy, baby.
And that's not necessarily true, but I'm saying it will be in the show notes so you can see for yourselves. It's fantastic.
Getting control of Shakespeare's fortune wasn't the first of Moore's schemes, or the author of the Paris Review article argues the most audacious. I don't know about that. This scheme, though, that they mention is pretty nuts. In June 2001, someone in Wimauma, Florida, found Dee Dee Moore by the side of the road with her wrists bound. As Deborah Mathis and Gregory Todd Smith write in that book I mentioned, Unlucky Number, Moore claimed that, quote, 3 clean-cut, tattooed Hispanic men had abducted and raped her at gunpoint, thrown her in a ditch, and stolen her car, a Lincoln Navigator. But her fantasies were always rickety and usually depended on racist stereotypes. Her father even said she tells the fibbiest fibs.
Oh my God.
And her lie in this case unraveled just a few days later when a man confessed to having helped her stage the event. It turns out a credit union was threatening to repossess her Navigator, which she'd stashed in a garage, and the whole scheme was her way of keeping the car from getting repossessed by collections.
This is giving Stalker episode.
Yeah, Moore was convicted of insurance fraud in this case and of falsely reporting a crime and given a year's probation. When Abraham Shakespeare went missing in the spring of 2009, Dee Dee was pretty quickly looked at as the main suspect. Just a year after meeting Shakespeare, she was living in his house and spending all of his lottery money.
Fucking Black Widow, dude.
For her part, Moore told whoever would listen that Shakespeare was in hiding and that she could talk to him whenever she wanted. He intentionally did not want to be found, she told the Lakeland Ledger. He didn't care what it took. As police began focusing their investigation on her, Moore floated some crazy explanations for why Shakespeare was hiding. First, she told the cops he was pretending to be dying of AIDS so that he could avoid paying child support.
Oh my God, this sounds a lot like this lady sucks, and I have to bleep that out, I guess.
When the cops didn't bite on that explanation, she said there was a tape of Shakespeare having sex with a minor and that he fled town before it came to light.
This woman's a piece of shit.
She was coming up with even crazier stories in private. One was that Shakespeare was killed by a drug dealer from Miami. Another was that he'd perished in the earthquake in Haiti, which had just killed like 100,000 people or whatever when this happened.
Sure.
Unfortunately, she was spinning these lies and concocting them with one of Shakespeare's friends who had gained Dee Dee Moore's trust while operating as a police informant. So,
like a CI, a criminal informant?
Basically, yeah. He managed to get Dee Dee, she didn't know that he was an informant, but he did manage to get her to confess that Shakespeare was buried in her backyard and even got her to produce the murder weapon.
Oh my God.
She still, though, even to this guy who was secretly operating as a CI, she still never confessed to killing Shakespeare. She said the murder was committed by this drug dealer from Miami who had then forced her to dig the hole, cover the body in lime, and hire a company to pour a 30 by 30 concrete slab on top of him.
This is some Florida ass shit, dude.
And sure enough, that is where Shakespeare's body was found, in a 9-foot deep hole in the backyard of a home that Dee Dee had purchased with his lottery winnings.
Oh my God, what a scumbag.
On February 19th, 2010, Moore was finally charged with first-degree murder. It's still, to this day, no one really knows what happened. The prosecution argued that Dee Dee and Shakespeare had an argument about money that resulted in Moore shooting him twice in the chest, but she never confessed. And she was sentenced to life without parole, and to this day maintains her innocence. She even says she has evidence to prove it, though unsurprisingly, she won't produce that evidence for anybody.
No, of course she won't.
So that's the tragic tale of Abraham Shakespeare.
Greatest name in the biz. Worst taste in women.
There was something I actually left out where at one point, I know we mentioned that he paid off someone's mortgage whose last name he didn't know. There was a point where he was living with 3 different women, one of whose last name he didn't know. And when asked about it, he was quoted in the paper as saying, "I don't be trying to know anyone's last names."
What an amazing, weird stance to have.
Yeah. He's a man who just felt, people should keep to themselves.
I like that, actually.
Nothing wrong with that.
I do appreciate that.
A little anonymity, a little mystery in this day and age.
Yeah. I'll give you $400,000 to not tell me your last name.
Yeah, please. This goes for all of our fans. We don't need to know anything about you.
We don't need to know anything about you. I do. Yeah, it's crazy. The Dee Dee of it all is just nuts of to be someone who's heard something at a real estate thing and then to be like, I think that person's someone I could take advantage of. And then put the wheels in motion to go be a piece of shit.
What I'd love to know, and maybe if I read this book, Unlucky Numbers, maybe it's in there. I would love to know what Dee Dee was doing at that real estate thing in the first place.
I don't want to alienate any of our fans who are working real estate, but real estate is one of those jobs where people show up there that's this wasn't your first choice. You've had a couple, and they also, have to go to a lot of these kind of seminars.
Well, but what I mean is there's no indication in the research I did she show up as a realtor? Did she show up with the idea that she was posing as a writer? I don't know what she was doing there. You know what I mean?
I think she showed up to learn something about real estate. Real estate's pretty good if you're a fucking con person, because it's I'm going to go to a lot of houses. I'm going to find out about the people who live there. I'm going to see these neighborhoods of rich people from selling a rich person house. If you're coming to look at a house, you're someone with enough money that I can potentially scam out of it. That said, I think she may have actually been there for real estate purposes, then heard this story and was like, this is a fucking jackpot. I need to weigh in.
Yeah.
Was there for normal stuff and then pivoted, called an audible.
Called
an evil audible.
Yeah, it was fuck, flipping houses that are going to fall apart in 6 months or whatever. This guy is my...
The housing market, you can drive it up, but that takes longer than driving a man insane. Or whatever. I don't know. I couldn't find a way into that. But yes, Dee Dee sucks. May she R.I.P. forever. If you're still with us, R.I.P. God bless. Hopefully soon.
And R.I.P. God bless for real to Abraham, who was just a guy who gave away a lot of his money.
And he sounds like me. He sounds like a pushover.
Yeah.
He sounds like, when it comes to ladies, just easy to manipulate, and this poor son of a bitch.
Well, our last lottery winner is a woman with, I think, a much, what's the word I'm looking for?
More elaborate lie?
No, she's a woman with a much cleaner conscience than Dee Dee Moore was.
It's hard to beat Dee Dee Moore. There's some people I know who can give Dee Dee a run for their money. But no, she's a real piece of work.
Evelyn Adams, our next lottery winner, beat some truly incredible odds and won the jackpot not once but twice. Just 6 months apart in 1985 and 1986.
Oh, wow.
She was from Trenton, New Jersey.
Jersey again.
Yep. She had a lifelong habit. She'd been doing it for 15 or 20 years at this point. But
Trenton's the capital of New Jersey.
That
fucked us the other night in a trivia match. Piece of shit. People who weren't there, which
was nobody. Nobody listening to this was there.
No,
well,
Ellie was there. He enjoyed it. He enjoys our show. But no, we fucked up. We didn't know Trenton. It was an answer to a trivia question. Could have saved our asses.
Evelyn Adams had a lifelong habit of spending $25 a week on lottery tickets, but never won big. This one's also interesting, and the reason I kind of included it is because most of these people's stories we only find out about after the fact, because the newsworthy element is...
They won the lottery.
No. The newsworthy element for a lot of these people is that they burned through all their money and they're broke and miserable, even though they won the lottery.
True.
She had articles written about her contemporaneously because she won 2 in a row, so it's a really interesting snapshot of a woman at the high before the fall.
Oh, true.
True. Most people, I mean, it's cool when you win the lottery, but a lot of people aren't necessarily getting something written about them because it does happen fairly regularly.
But now they have, before you start up with her, do you ever see those books? I feel like there's books out there of people who have won the lottery 5, 6, 7 times, and then they write books about here's how I tricked the system. And
I've never seen those.
Really?
I would assume those people are all criminals.
Yeah, I bet they are. But I've seen it. I'll try and find something for the show notes or something. But yeah, or for a thing we post online or trivia bot or something.
Oh my God. Searching for this took Ed down a rabbit hole that has him excitedly making a PowerPoint presentation to deliver at their next premium live stream.
But I've definitely seen it, something is we're here with Doug Smith, and he's always got glasses and loves computers.
There was that one docuseries about the guy who won all the McDonald's the McDonald's Monopoly, but
nobody
he rigged
won it. That's all rigged.
Yeah. Again, I assume if you're winning the lottery 6 or 7 times, you've rigged it somehow. That's crazy.
I'm sure the first chapter is what you're going to want to do is be worth $100 million.
And
then just buy so many tickets. Yeah.
So this article from February 14th, 1986.
Valentine's Day, please.
Valentine's Day, 1986.
Yeah, don't you? This is I'll interrupt. My last time interrupting, probably for the night. I have this amazing video that makes me laugh all the time. A home video of my dad on Christmas Eve. And it's a video of my grandpa. My dad's operating the camera and my grandpa's walking in and waving hello. And I think my dad says something here we are on Christmas Eve or whatever. And then my grandpa says, December 24th. And then I hear my dad behind the camera. It's amazing. It's one of the types of ways my dad is very funny, but also sometimes mean. Is you just hear him behind the camera go, yeah, I think they'll get that when I said Christmas Eve, Frank. By adding his name is so much funnier to me too.
Wait, and was this your dad's dad or your mom's dad?
It's my mom's dad.
Even who's funnier.
Yeah. So it's his father-in-law.
Yeah.
But anyway, it made me think of it. So yeah, you can go right in with
Valentine's Day, 1986.
There it is.
Adams has beaten odds estimated at 1 in 15 trillion to become the nation's first 2-time lottery millionaire by winning the New Jersey Lottery's Pick 6 jackpot for a second time. I think that number was sensationalized a little bit.
A trillion? Yeah.
1 in 15 trillion.
Yeah, it seems like a lot.
Because that means anyone who's won it 6 or 7 times would be 1 in
I'll find this book.
Google.
This book probably exists.
I saw some more recent estimates saying it was more like 1 in 5.2 million, the chances of doing this twice. But anyway.
Either way, quick pick means that you don't choose the numbers, right?
It's the Pick 6 jackpot.
Oh, I thought it was quick pick. Okay, got you. Okay, Pick 6, so he can put the lost numbers in.
Yeah. She won $3.9 million in a drawing last October. Thursday, she claimed a $1.5 million prize she won in Monday night's drawing. Sam Valenza, publisher of Lottery Players magazine of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and a man I'm sure has some unpaid debts, said there have been no other reports of 2-time U.S. $1 million jackpot winners. He said 22 states and the District of Columbia have lotteries. So this is before all states even had lotteries.
To say, that's crazy. I didn't think about this.
Yeah, 86. Only 22 states had lotteries.
Well, I was already born. I was already born into a barely half the country had lottery when I was born.
I was recently conceived, so...
I don't love that. I don't like to think about the conception period, but I was already alive.
I never expected to win twice, Adams said Thursday as she redeemed her latest winning ticket. It comes as a complete shock, which is something that someone who is not shocked makes sure to tell the newspaper.
Oh, shit, dude.
She purchased both of her winning tickets at the convenience mart where she worked for 10 years.
That's risky.
Her fiance, who split the cost of the latest winning ticket with her, owns the store.
Okay, real fast. Couple things. So, one, how expensive is the ticket? You need to be splitting the cost with another person? Are there
especially
tickets
her fiance, you think at that point maybe you're kind of...
Oh, but do you think it's a thing where, let me get, if it's a $1 lottery, I'm not saying that's what this is, but if it's a $1 lottery, I can give them $5 and they'll put all 5 number sets on the one ticket. So maybe it's like, hey, give me $100 worth of picks, and that would make sense for splitting the ticket with someone, but that's still bananas.
Again, she bought both these winning tickets at the convenience store where
she used to work.
Where she still worked and where her fiance owned the place.
But isn't there a thing no different than like you can't put your name in for this raffle if you work for McDonald's? Like if you worked for McDonald's, you couldn't play the McDonald's Monopoly. So if you're telling me that she doesn't work for the lottery commission, she just works for the Quickie Mart.
If you work for the state lottery commission, maybe you can't. But I guess it's just a little weird that you work and own the place where you buy the tickets, but also where else are you buying lottery tickets from, I guess, if you work and own a convenience store. So
that's but I guess you wouldn't go to a different convenience store to play the lottery. But if what we discussed earlier is true, if as the institution that sold the ticket, you receive a portion of the winnings, right? So it's like this guy's going to get half of the tickets payout plus his company's going to get.
But also, how would he? I guess now that I think more about it, how just because you work there, I don't know how you would
rig it.
Neither
do I, but I'm just saying it seems suspect.
Yeah, a little suspect. Anyway, the article continues, the $5.4 million total will be paid in 20 annual payments. So she chose, or maybe at the time you couldn't choose a lump sum, but wise decision to get annual payments instead of lump sum here.
Why is it wise?
Again, I think you get more. Or maybe I just think that because it feels like a psychological experiment.
Yeah, but 20 annual payments for how many years?
Oh, what's 20 annual payment?
Well, yes, but if someone told me, I guess because I'm an idiot, but if someone told me like, hey, you have 20 annual payments on your car, I'd be like, I pay you 20 times this year? That's how my brain just went there. But I think I just don't have any money. I don't know.
For 20 years, and I mean, what is that?
No
like
fucking way. I would never.
Year?
I would never. I don't think I'm going to be here next year. I don't want 20 annual payments.
It was such a shock, Adams said, for 20 years to think I've got so much money and now to know I've got more. Adams, 32, of Point Pleasant, said she will take her 10-year-old daughter from a previous marriage on a trip to Disney World. Look out, big spender.
Yeah, well, these days, Disney World's going to run you like $5,000.
But still.
Wait, so Point Pleasant, West Virginia?
No,
or Point Pleasant, New Jersey? Okay, that's less interesting, less Mothman-y.
I want to go to business school, Adams said. I've got to learn how to manage this money.
Don't you already manage like a successful Quickie Mart?
Well, we don't know if it's successful, and I don't know if you want to gamble right now, but you want to bet if she learned how to manage the money?
I don't think she did.
Adams and Hermit Edward Bayshore, 45, also of Point Pleasant, New Jersey, will get married in April. Bayshore plans to sell the store, and the couple may move to Pennsylvania.
I thought it was his place, not hers. Okay, gotcha.
But Adams won't be playing the lottery in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or any other state. I can't honestly continue playing, she said. Other people will say, let us have a chance. Or they'll say, arrest this woman. She keeps winning the lottery.
Yeah, that's more than I'm thinking. Yeah, there's a lot of little things they're saying and doing which sound very suspect. We're getting married. We're moving. We're changing our names.
We're never playing the lottery again. We're never going to ask any questions. We're going to leave the country. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
After winning her first big prize, Adams said she never considered not playing the lottery again. In fact, she began spending twice as much money, about $100 weekly, on lottery tickets.
Well, she had all that extra money from her first win.
Yes, exactly. Between her two big prizes, Adams also did say she won an additional $500 in the lottery's daily game. So she picked up a little extra coin playing every day for another 6 months.
I mean, that's going to get that. She just bought herself $500 plays. Yeah. 500 days of dollar pickups.
After winning her first jackpot, she paid off some bills and set up a college fund for her daughter. She also bought herself a car. But here's where the problems start, because Adams...
The car had some other lottery winner's money in the back. She bought it at a strip club parking lot. She had now too much money.
Adams, perhaps unsurprisingly, my editorializing, did not go to business school and learn how to manage her money. Instead, Evelyn's double win thrust her into the local spotlight and she lost her privacy. I was known, she said. I couldn't go anywhere without being recognized.
I had a scarlet dollar symbol placed on me.
Within her own family, there were mixed reactions to her incredible luck and good fortune. Evelyn said
That bitch?
Yeah. Evelyn said most of my family was great, but a few of my relatives were angry because I had so much.
Wait, didn't she win only it wasn't a ton, right?
She won $5.5 million total.
In the 80s, that goes further than it would now.
Yeah. After winning her second jackpot, Evelyn was full of plans for the future and excited to enjoy her newfound wealth. 7 years after her double win, Evelyn and her fiancé were married, and his store, which had become popular with lottery ticket buyers, hoping some of her luck would rub off on them, was sold. Evelyn hoped to use her winnings to return to school and study music with dreams of one day opening a music store.
Okay, so that's changed from business to music.
Business school or opening a music store or starting a band or...
Yeah.
But instead of doing any of that, Evelyn developed a severe gambling addiction.
Oh, no!
By 2012, Evelyn, and let's be real, that's a long fucking time to have a gambling addiction. 1986 to 2012. She'd spent all her money after hitting the slot machines at the casinos in Atlantic City a bit too frequently.
And it's always the fucking slots. Like, I got people in our lives where, like, the slots did them in. It's the dumbest, weirdest...
Millions on slots.
Yeah, no, every time I've ever walked through a casino at 4:30 in the morning, it's just people at slot machines.
How often are you walking through a casino at 4:30 in the morning?
Not as often as maybe I would like, because you can smoke indoors, which is a lot of fun. But but I'm just saying, in the few instances I have, I have a great photo from one of those instances. But in a few instances I have, it's always just like, man, it's depressing. It's loud. It's everyone just sitting there, just clicking that button over and over again. It's crazy.
Well, Evelyn says winning the lottery isn't always what it's cracked up to be. I won the American dream, but I lost it too. It was a very hard fall. It's called rock bottom.
Oh, shit.
20 years after her historic win, Evelyn was living in a trailer park, penniless. Reflecting on what happened, she said, quote, "Everybody wanted my money. Everybody had their hand out. I never learned one simple word in the English language. No. I wish I had the chance to do it all over again. I'd be much smarter about it now. I was a big-time gambler. I didn't drop $1 million, but it was a lot of money." She concluded, "I made mistakes. Some I regret, some I don't. I'm human. I can't go back now, so I just go forward, one step at a time."
She's still with us?
That's a good question. I believe she is.
Do you think she put all of her remaining money on Mike Tyson tonight?
She should have. I hope she did.
I guess you guys now know when we're recording this.
She had no remaining money, though. She would have had to put up her trailer.
No, we don't know, because that was in 2012 or whatever.
Oh, that's true. She could have made some money back.
She could have won the fucking lottery again.
Likely at this point. So for me, after reading all these stories, I have a big question about why this always seems to happen to people who win the lottery. Some people would tell you the lottery is cursed. Gambling is evil. Reap what you sow. Demons, etc. I think the real answer is much less crazy. I mean, a lot of people will tell you that people who win the lottery aren't good with their money. And to an extent, I think that's true.
Realistically, there are people who weren't good with their money beforehand because they're throwing money at the lottery every week.
Yes, exactly. But I also think it goes a little bit deeper than that because, grain of salt here, obviously, because some of those statistics we discussed earlier say basically everyone's bought a lottery ticket one time or another. So I'm not saying everyone who buys a lottery ticket is crazy or down on their luck, but my feeling is amongst people who do buy lottery tickets, and if you're going to win, you're probably buying them often enough that your odds are increasing.
Like you're feeling that serotonin rush, that dopamine, at least more times than me who buys none of them.
Yeah, and so you amongst those people, you have your fair share of desperate people, gambling addicts, and people who probably aren't the best, at money management or impulse control.
I've seen probably 2,000 times in my life. That number seems high when I said it out loud. But I've seen a lot of people like picking up discarded scratch-off tickets like from the ground in the parking lot when I'm like in the parking lot of Rel's.
I mean, I'll cop to that. I've done it. I don't do it every time I see one, but I've picked them up just to check.
Yeah, I mean, people have done it. I think my mom's done it. Not like in a degenerate way. I just think that people are like, well,
it's like finding a penny on the ground. You're like,
But I'm saying is that, it's just enough. It's a interesting thing that you will see.
Yeah. But where I'm going with this is I think what makes it worse in the sense of these potentially money management or impulse control challenged people is that if you are somebody who has continued to buy tickets or has bet it all on winning the lottery, when it turns out that you were right, that's where all bets are really off. Because now what you're telling yourself is, well, I made the correct money decisions.
So everything I do now will be the correct money decision.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't know that they're necessarily thinking it through that deeply, but I would imagine that's kind of what happens is like, I've spent all this money, I've won the lottery, and now I wouldn't have won the lottery if I wasn't doing the right thing. Not morally, but just if I wasn't making good decisions, I never would have won the lottery. So therefore, now what I do is correct.
It's also the ultimate fuck you to everybody else too, where it's like there's no version where if you're playing lottery a lot, there's definitely people in your life who are like, you should maybe not play the lottery every week. Yeah. So hitting is also a great like, fuck you idiots, right? Like you told me not even to do this. You told me I should save money. Now look at me, I'm driving around in 13 cars that I've piled on top of each other.
And I'm driving in the top car.
I'm on the top car. I hired some local mechanic to make this weird long steering wheel. And now look at me. I'm driving around. King, I'm ruining all the street lights in town.
I also think it doesn't help, and I didn't know this, but I think it doesn't help that in most states, who wins the lottery and how much they win it for is a matter of public record.
I'm sure it is,
and it often has to be published. It's not just public record that if you go downtown, you can bring it up, but that like you have to publish it in a paper or publish it. Like when you do a name change, you have to publish it somewhere or like do an LLC.
We did that for the DBA on this show.
And so I think that makes it really easy for people to come out of the woodwork, either
start trying to date you.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's people who keep their eye on dating or asking for money or offering investment opportunities.
Yes.
Or
some like Dee Dee's gonna come out of the woodwork. She's gonna do that thing where fucking Willy Wonka comes out of the factory all limping, then she does like a somersault into your life. The public record thing, I wonder if it has to do with the fact that you have to pay all these state taxes on it, and that like there has to be a record of. You can't like tell the IRS you don't have any money. Yeah,
I mean, I think to some degree there's an element of a lot of the money is going to fund like, roads or public projects. Like that's when people buy lottery tickets, that money is going to fund those things. So I would imagine that part of it's that. I also did look up, according to the North American Association of State and Provincial Lotteries, these laws exist to show that the lottery is run honestly and that the funds have been paid out to a real person.
Oh, that makes sense.
Otherwise, states fear there could be all kinds of skullduggery afoot. And, it seems like people have tried to cheat at the lottery anyway. So if you can do it anonymously and win anonymously, then... but there are 16 states that do let you stay anonymous. And I don't know that anyone's ever studied, like, is there a lot more fraud and waste in the anonymous lottery states versus the public lottery states?
There might be a lot less people's lives fell apart in the anonymous states if they can just keep it to themselves that they won.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, and also,
I might have said this earlier. I'd be cool with like giving people mad money if I won enough money. But I'd also treat that shit like I robbed a bank for this money. Yeah. Like, where it's like, we don't use it for 5 years. We don't ever talk about it. We go our separate ways. We live on what seems like would be your paycheck, but then go on dope vacations.
Well, I think it's funny. I was looking around on Reddit for other like more personal stories of people who had won the lottery or people who had won the lottery and then had their lives fall apart. And there were plenty of those. None of them were particularly interesting or worth sharing, but there were people on there who had said that they had a friend or they'd been dating somebody and they were never sure. It didn't seem like they had a job or whatever. And then they would find out a year or two into it that like mom or dad actually had won $5 million, $6 million, and they were doing it like that. I think the difference for a lot of these stories that are well known is even if they're not a matter of public record, when you win that much money at the lottery, you end up on the news.
Yeah.
And that's really, so if you win $3, $4, $5 million and you're smart about it and you invest it and whatever, I think that's a really smart way to go about it, is like, you just don't say anything. You, for the first 5 years, you don't spend much more money. You don't have it seem like you have anything. But I think when you win $100 million, $200 million, $1 billion,
there's a picture of you with a giant check.
Yeah, you can't escape it, whether it's public, private, whatever. So anyway, before we hit the fear tier, I thought it might be fun to spend a few minutes speculating how we would ruin our lives if we won the lottery.
Oh, I guess we kind of been talking a little bit about it, but yeah, what do you want to know?
I mean, I think I would probably... I was thinking about this on the drive over here because I knew I wanted to talk about it a little bit and I wasn't sure. I've never had a dream of I'd win the lottery. I mean, obviously one thing would be I would just start funding my own films.
See, that's
making
the
movies.
opposite for me.
Another thing that I would ruin my life doing is trying to create Jurassic Park.
Oh, sure.
Or at least reverse engineer a chicken into a dinosaur.
I don't think you're going to get enough money for that.
To reverse engineer a chicken into a dinosaur, absolutely.
No, I think you're not going to get enough money for that.
That's not expensive.
No,
it's just morally, it's ethically questionable.
I don't know.
But I don't
think
think
work
it's
for CRISPR or whatever. But it's I think we spend like the private sector of medicine spends like billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars every year on like stuff, and I feel like they haven't made any dinosaurs.
Well, but those are two different things. So like cloning dinosaurs is very different from reverse breeding a chicken into a dinosaur.
I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know why you know the term reverse breeding.
Because I'm fascinated by, there's this one artist who's done a series of speculative art called Novosaurs, and it's based on, I think, something that maybe Jack Horner, the famous paleontologist from Jurassic Park, speculated that we know enough about the genetics of modern birds to know which genes we would essentially have to turn off, like which genes evolved them into birds and which genes have to be turned off to sort of reverse breed them back into something that is much more dinosaur-like. So instead of a beak, they have a snout, their teeth come back out, their tails balance differently, they have fewer feathers, that kind of thing.
I don't even want to see the first couple ones you make.
No, well, and that's
crazy looking.
It's one of those things where if I had to bet, I would say someone's probably done this because it's not that many generations of chickens. I just think you create a lot of monstrous dying in pain chickens.
Think these are people who have the term burn it down in a holster. Just ready to go. Be like, you know what? Burn it down. I don't know what we were thinking.
So that I think I could probably fund and turn into a little bit of a mad scientist. Cloning dinosaurs is a whole other. I mean, that's where you got to have won a couple $1 billion to even think about it, because that is...
You'd have to win a couple billion just to like think about buying a football team.
True.
I don't know. What's the number for you? Like for this version of us running our lives, what are we thinking we won here?
If I won
500 million?
If I won $100 million...
100 million.
Well, okay.
In 2024, that might get us 2 chickens.
Well, right, after taxes and everything.
Yeah.
Well, because here's the thing. I'd like to tell myself that there's no number at which I will ruin my life because I'm smart enough that I would be careful about it and I would hand out money, but only a little bit.
I've almost ruined my life with having no money numerous times.
I don't think I have a ton of problems with impulse control.
I have tons of problems with impulse control.
Okay,
I'm the interrupter of the group.
I need to know how you would do this because I think I'm less susceptible. I would definitely, if I won $1 billion at the lottery, I would definitely set aside $50 to $70 million to do a megalopolis, and just make a movie, crazy expensive, do whatever I wanted.
Yeah,
But I don't know if that would ruin my life.
I would definitely set aside a ton of money to not make a megalopolis. Yeah. Like the first $1 million is being used to change my fucking identity. Like, I don't want anyone to know I have that money. There's no fucking way. So, and I would feel that way about winning fucking $2 million. So then I would set like $100 million aside and say that like, this is the amount of money I don't want to fucking mess up.
Right.
I want to make sure this is here so that I can go be an animal in other ways.
Put that in the S&P 500.
Exactly. People who care about me listen to this podcast. I don't want to be that honest. I think I would make myself thin.
Well, Ozempic's $200 a month.
No,
right?
I mean I want something where they just give me a different body.
Okay,
I want some
take your head off this body.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm rich now. I don't want the shit anyone can get. Give me the thing where you found a body somewhere. I don't care. It's mine now. I want the substance.
Ryan Reynolds has gone missing, and Ed has a nice body.
Yeah, still stupid head. I guess I would do that. Done plenty of drugs. I don't think I need any more of those, so that's not interesting anymore. I guess I would just see the world in a way that no one can bother me, in like a gross, terrible way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I want to see that, but I want to skip the line on everything. I don't want to fucking fly commercial, and I don't want to be in line for Disney rides, and I don't want to... I guess I just want to be like max selfish in a way that a single person with no children or responsibilities could be.
Well, and that would eventually ruin your life.
Well, yeah, because if I ever lost the ability and had to wait in line again or had to fly a commercial again, yeah, it would feel like your life is falling apart.
You become a selfish, inward-looking person who doesn't care about others.
I guess what this has revealed is that I've always wanted to be that and haven't had the means. And now I've had the means to really blossom, evolutionarily blossom into the monster I think I can be.
There we go. What a note to end on.
So Chris
ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to the premium if you can. We really need the money. Ed is a few $100 million away from becoming a sociopath.
Because right now I am broke and affable and just such a sweet pea. But I just know that give me that coin, give me that vault of coins I can swim in and then come out of the deep end monstrous.
So let's then place winning the lottery on our fear tier. Where do you want to put it?
-20.
Ed's still hoping that we are willing this into reality by doing this episode.
Yeah, -20. I think we both need to. We need to win the lottery without even fucking playing. That's where immaculate lottery wins.
Yeah. I mean, I would put it, if we're going to put it on the scale for real, I would put it at a 1. I'm not particularly afraid of it. I guess in my darkest moments, I might put it at a 2 or a 3 because that much money does kind of, I do believe that as the communist of the podcast.
Not the beginning of this episode. Everyone thinks I'm fucking Ricky Sickle.
I do believe that significant amounts of money, I think, can eat away at your humanity because what it allows you to do, what any real large amount of money, and we can debate what number that is, but I do believe that a large enough amount of money allows you to remove yourself from society in ways that aren't healthy for you or the people around you. You don't have to operate by the rules of society. And I don't know that anybody is a genetically born and bred good enough person to have their soul survive that. I think you ultimately do suffer the consequences if you don't handle that money responsibly and treat it with care and treat your role and responsibility as a person with that much wealth carefully. So
I have not seen one example where that person has done what you're describing. So I think anyone with too much money is monstrous. And then again, people are going to be like, you're just saying that because you don't have all that money. I'm like, yeah, maybe. But like Randy Newman said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I have nothing but contempt for anyone too successful because they must be doing something dishonest. And so, what are you going to do?
I would agree. And so that's why I guess I would put winning the lottery possibly at a 2 or a 3 because it does, you never know what things it would awaken in you if you didn't have to play by anyone else's rules.
And I should probably just add to my answer, I'd hook up my family and stuff too, in case you're listening.
Of course. I mean, I think for both of us, one of the things that would be potentially life ruining is, I don't know, I think I said this at the beginning, but we've taken a couple breaks in this recording, so I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, once you have the ability to be infinitely generous, or you feel like you can be infinitely generous, and you're not good with money, you're not good at keeping track or budgeting, I could see that spending getting out of control. Because, you and I think, would hook up our friends, hook up our family, hook up strangers. Like
make a movie, fund someone something or other.
Yeah, and you're not keeping an eye on the bill because you're like, fuck the bill. There's no such thing as a bill anymore. That's,
exactly.
And then that's how you really get yourself in trouble because you stop thinking about those things.
And we would definitely be those guys because we've been broke.
Yeah.
And I get mad at anybody who's like either the bullied who become bullies or the broke people who get money and now they want to keep people broke. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I think once you've walked in someone's shoes, you're a little bit more susceptible. You're like, oh, I'll help out here, I'll help out there, help out there.
Yeah. So,
which is why I think it's so weird that like everyone looks up in this country to the super wealthy, and it's like these people don't give a shit about you.
No,
at all, because of everything Chris just said about like they've become insular. Because they've had no reason to have to commune in any way.
Well, it's why artists who get extremely wealthy, I think their art tends to suffer. It's not universal. I'm sure there's exceptions that prove the rule. But whether you're a stand-up comic or you're a screenwriter or a director, once you stop living the life of a regular person and thinking about things that happen to regular people who make up most of your audience.
I mean, to bring up that guy earlier without giving anything away, but Friends, the television show Friends, there's a famous story. There's a scene where they go to the ATM in the show. And there was a discussion in the writer's room. This is very different from the writer's rooms that I've worked in. This is back when you made insane money in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they were landing on like, I don't know, it should probably be like when they go to the ATM, if they show the number, it should probably be like 200,000, right? They would have 200,000.
How much the character would have.
The character would have on the show when they go to the ATM.
Yeah.
And the writer's assistant was like, what? No, what? Like, do you guys actually think that like regular people just have like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in their bank account?
Yeah.
And they were just so out of touch. All the writers were making so much money. The actors were making $1 million an episode. They just had no idea what that number should be.
Yeah.
Because in their minds, it's like, well, we're really lowballing what's in our accounts.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, she works at the fucking Central Perk coffee shop. Like, she's not going to have $600,000 in her bank account.
Yeah, she's not going to have a savings account. She's going to be living paycheck to paycheck.
None of these people should be in these apartments.
Paying, for those apartments. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so anyway, that's just a good example of like how quickly people can fall out of touch with shit, you know, after getting a lot of money. So like my answer I gave for like how I'd be shitty after winning the lottery was partially based on this like coworker I had and some family friends who have just fucking buco dollars, who I saw that like money lets them become the main character in their fucking story.
Yeah.
Like all the time. They completely forget, kind of like what you were saying earlier, they just forget the everyday needs and wants of regular ass people, and then they're just like, you're all in my story now.
Yeah,
I'm first.
They get to write the book when they're sitting on the cash.
Exactly. So that's, you know, I worked in a room with someone who was very fucking like that, older person who made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Back when you made a ton of money on sitcoms. And some family friends I've seen over the years where, you know, it's just a very different conversation with those folks. Everything I was saying earlier about all the things I would do, it comes from those people. Like, I would never fly. First class isn't good enough. If I'm not flying private, I'm not flying.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing this, it's not whatever. So that really informed my answer with how I would become shittier. But that said, great episode. Let's try and win some money soon.
Hell yeah, we did it. Let's get some scratchers to celebrate.
Yeah, man. I mean, I wish it was 20 more stories. These were a lot of fun.
Well, we can revisit. I mean, there are more stories. Like I said, a lot of them kind of follow pretty similar beats, but I'm sure there's others out there that are fascinating. And hey, if you're listening to this show and you have a family member who's won the lottery, write to our email, scaredallthetime@gmail.com. Let us know if they handled it well or if they handled it poorly. And if you guys have some good stories, we'll read some on the show.
Yeah, we'll have you on. Fuck it.
Yeah, we'll have you on if it's really good. Let us know. And if by the way, if you've won the lottery, sign up for premium.
Fucking use your money poorly our way.
Yeah. But that's it for this week, guys. We've got 1 week left of this season.
It's a doozy.
It's a doozy. It's going to be great. But until then, I'm Chris Cullari.
And I'm still poor.
And this has been Scared All the Time. We'll see you next time.
Good evening. Scared All the Time is co-produced by Chris Cullari and Ed Voccola.
Written by Chris Cullari.
Edited by Ed Voccola.
Additional support and keeper of sanity is Tess Feifel.
Our theme song is the track Scared by Perpetual Stew.
And Mr. Disclaimer is...
And just a reminder, you can now support the podcast on Patreon and get all kinds of cool shit in return. Depending on the tier you choose, we'll be offering everything from ad-free episodes, producer credits, exclusive access, and exclusive merch.
So go sign up for our Patreon at scaredallthetimepodcast.com.
Don't worry, all scaredy cats welcome.
No part of this show can be reproduced anywhere without permission. Copyright Astonishing Legends Productions.
Good night.
We are in this together.
Together.